Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 10 at Gulfstream Park on Pegasus World Cup Saturday is the Grade 3 WL McKnight for 4-year-olds and up, going 1.5 miles on the turf. You can bet this sensational card with a DRF Bets account. Deposit $50, bet with $200. Find out more at bets.drf.com. Let's see the field for the Grade 3 WL McKnight. $200,000 is the purse. We're going 1.5 miles. Let's start with Michael Maker's number 2, Solio. This is just a really consistent runner. He's been on the board in his last 7 races. He likes Gulfstream Park. Beaten favorite last time out, going 2 miles against Red Knight. You were right about him. Going into that race on paper, it looked like he was really the horse to beat. And you said there's something about Solio that I just don't trust at a short price.
Yeah.
You were right. Do you feel the same way here?
Yeah, I mean, I always feel, we'll see what kind of price he goes off in this race, because it feels like this is the kind of race where, you know, who knows where the money's ultimately going to wind up. He'll take his share of it, that's for sure. He's just not a horse I want a short price on ever. He's got a little bit of hang in him. There are things to really like about him. He's got a nice pedigree. He's very well connected. He has a great running style. He always gets good trips. But when it comes down to crunch time, I don't know, he's a little bit too willing to settle for second and third for my liking. He can win this race, Dan. He's a contender. I just wouldn't bet him at a short price.
It's a fair point. He's sharp right now, though, and I know he beat nothing 3 starts back. I like the way he did it at Keeneland because he gave significant ground in that 1.5 mile race. Jose Ortiz rode him confidently like you're supposed to ride an even money favorite, and he got it done. I thought he ran okay last time out. He wouldn't be a surprise at all, but in this race, I think we're both trying to find a little bit of value, and this horse Solio is going to be among the favorites. The number 4 Zulu Alpha is also trained by Michael Maker, and this is a very dangerous horse in the race. The Connections tried him, turned back to 1.125 miles last time out, and while he's run well in middle distances in the past, he just happened to catch Glorious Empire, a very sharp speedster who wired him that day. Worth noting that this horse popped a big Beyer speed figure, first off the claim, 2 back at 1.5 miles, but he did have a great trip to do it.
I mean, he got a perfect trip in that race, but he's got that kind of running style that he can get another good trip in this race as Maker stretches him back out. I thought he ran well in that Sycamore 2 starts back. Last time, listen, he wasn't going to beat Glorious Empire anyway, but drawn out where he was, you could see that Irad tried to get him to go forward early, but Glorious Empire, who made the lead, was just staying way off the rail. This horse got stuck 4 wide for a long way in there. Couldn't get into contention around the second turn. He just gave that race up late. But I don't think that performance is as bad as it looks. And obviously, if he just steps back up and runs one of those 2 prior races, he's a big contender in here.
It's a shame that the number 7 Canassar got very, very sick last summer because he was coming to hand for trainer Arnaud Delacour off 2 triple-digit Beyers. He got wired in the Stars and Stripes, but was running hard at the end of that race to finish second, beaten the neck. He's going to have to deal with a long layoff, but I think you could argue that he has some of the best races in the race.
Yeah, he does. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what he does because I like his form overall. I couldn't really find a huge excuse for him in the Stars and Stripes last time. I know that the winner of that race got right to the lead and never gave it up. This horse got right up the inside in the stretch in there, and he had dead aim. He just couldn't get by in there. He did manage to just outfinish Solio in there. I liked his race 2 back a little bit better. The 2 mile race, he ran pretty well in there behind a good horse. I liked that performance. His only win, he's 1 for 5 in North America. He's run well in all of them, but he's only 1 for 5. In that win, the Laurel Turf Cup, he got a huge pace to close into from way out of it.
Let's talk about the pace a little bit. We'll throw up the Timeform US pace projector, and we've got the number 12, Village King, expected to make the lead. Timeform US believes that the pace will be fast. Village King reminds me a little bit of Todd's High Happy, who got good this time of year on the turf. Southern Hemisphere bred runner, equally good on dirt and turf, so it seems. His most recent turf race was at 1.16 miles, and he set a very rated pace, but he dug in gamely behind a couple of nice listed types. Zenor, Profiteer, I think he ran well in his subsequent 2 dirt races, but I really think they've been waiting to stretch him all the way out in distance, and that's what he's getting here. And if he gets to the lead and Johnny V can back it down, Village King at 10-1 is usable to say the least.
I got to agree with all that stuff, and I'll be a little bit surprised if this race is run at a fast pace. We'll see. There's a chance that it happens, but I don't think they're going to be blazing up there. I think this horse can clear, and he doesn't have to go that fast. And I agree with you. I think he's probably a better turf horse. The distance could really work for him. He's probably going to be a fair price in this race, the kind of horse that you want to be using somewhere.
Sitting second on the pace projector is trained by the great Aidan O'Brien. That's the number 8, Hunting Horn. Third in the Belmont Derby earlier this year. Ran second in a Group 2 going a mile and a half, 3 back. And I thought he had every chance to win that race. He was right outside the leader turning into the straight, and he just couldn't get by. We won't hold the Arc against him. We won't hold the Breeders' Cup Turf against him. If you throw those races out, you've got that solid enough Group 2 race at Longchamp. And if you believe that the 12 is a bit class compromised, this fella might be taking things over when the real running begins.
Yeah, and he's just getting probably the class relief that he needs here. They just run him in some races where he wasn't quite good enough. You know, when I go back and look at his Breeders' Cup last time, I don't even think he ran that poorly in that race. He sort of kept up close. The pace was okay in that race. He was widest in that race and alongside Enable for a very long time in there before he made the first move, tried to get into contention around the final turn. He got tired in the stretch, but he actually did some running in there. This is a better spot for this. I don't love him in here, Dan, but this is a better spot for this horse.
Let's talk about a couple price sources trained by Michael Matz. The 3, Winter Union. The 13, Postulation. We've got a formulator fact for both. Limited positive data for Matz. Second off the layoff in graded stakes turf routes with horses 4-year-olds and up. 20% winners, a 338 ROI. Winter Union is very lightly raced for a 5-year-old. He ran in the Jerkins last time out, passed a few tired horses. Hard to analyze 2-mile races. I don't take them that seriously. His prior form in New York was good.
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't great. It was good. Of these two horses, I don't know that I'll be using either one, Dan. Postulation has more credentials than Winter Union does, but if I was going to use either of them, I'd probably use Winter Union and just hope he could take a little step forward. Postulation, I don't have any real knocks on him. His 2 turf races when they went long, the mile-and-a-half races at the end of last year, he ran fine. He got perfect trips in those races, though, and he wasn't good enough, and that really bothers me about him.
But he does have some back class, a graded stakes winner going long, and certainly the Fort Lauderdale was just too short. Just seemed like a prep for this race, second off the layoff, and he is capable of popping a triple-digit Buyer's speed figure on his very best day. The 14, Hey Dakota, might be a nice claim for Mr. Paolucci because he's got some back class. Won the Commonwealth Turf back in 2016, won the Mystic Lake Mile in 2017. This is just a hard hitter. Doesn't reach the winner's circle very often, but is consistent, claim for 50, might be able to make these connections some money. Tough post position, negative formulator fact. We'll go through the field in the WL McKnight real quickly, but Hey Dakota's the kind of horse I think he's going to need a little bit of pace and race luck, and he's got to run his best lifetime race.
He's really got to step up here off the claim for these connections. It's, you know, there are connections that don't mind taking shots. It's unfortunate that they elected to run this horse here first off the claim, and he just got stuck out in post 14. That really hurts his horse's chances.
But I think maybe not here, maybe against slightly lesser company because he does have some back form. The 5 is Johnny Bear, and who would have thunk it? Johnny Bear's a 2-time winner of the Grade 1 Northern Dancer at Woodbine at this mile-and-a-half distance. The Canadian International didn't work out. I'm not going to hold the synthetic race against him last time out. While he's a multiple Grade 1 winner with credentials, why am I not convinced?
Yeah, I'm sort of in the same boat you are. It's not that he doesn't have races, though, that make him a contender. Even outside of the 2 Grade 1 wins, he's got races that make him a contender in here, and he wants distance, and he's got a good running style, and he'll probably be a good price in this race. I don't like him that much either, Dan, but there's a way to look at him and think, why not use this horse somewhere?
If Graham Motion has gotten Can't Help Believing back to his best form, I think there's a big chance that he can upset this field at 12-1 because before he went on the shelf for over a year, he was legit. He was a multiple graded stakes winner. His last race, there was not a lot of pace going on in there. At a mile and a 16th, the distance is too short. He tried really, really hard. He should move forward off of that effort. Just doesn't win very often.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with him. I'm with you. I thought long and hard about putting this horse on top in this race, and he's going to be a good price in here because if he can get back to that really good form, he is a big contender in here. I don't love his races since he's come back off the long layoff. Obviously, he has an excuse last time. There was no pace in there. I didn't think he finished great in that race, but it might be a little short for him, too. His Hollywood Turf Cup last time, 2 starts back, he finished last in that race. He did not run poorly in that race. He went first to attack that pace. The winner came from last to win it. That was an underrated effort.
That was a race where the pace really quickened on the backstretch.
Because he's the one who made it go.
He was the one who pushed it. Nessie's the number 10, and he's known as a nibbler. 13 times second or third from 26 lifetime starts, and the most recent win came in the San Juan Capistrano where he just didn't catch he caught the right field.
Yeah, he did.
Weak field. He was 9-10 that day. He was supposed to win. I've always liked Nessie. I've always think that one of these days he's going to pop. Maybe it'll happen on Saturday. I think he's best played underneath in single race exotics.
I think he probably is too. You know, he's just one of those horses. I've probably lost my last dollar on him. I gave up on him a while ago, but it's not like he's totally out of this race if he can run his very best in here. The thing that you like most about him, I think, is you're finally going to get him at a really good price in this race. I think people are probably pretty much done with him, and it's not like he's way out of this.
Michael Maker also has Market Off entered in this race off a runner-up effort. He is also cross-entered in a stake at Sam Houston on Sunday. Perhaps Market Off will run there. 2 for $20 lifetime. This might be a tough spot, but if Market Off scratches, Shug McGahee's got an interesting horse on the also eligible list.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Century gets into this race. It's funny when you look at Century because he couldn't win a race when Shug started him out as a 3-year-old, but he didn't run poorly in any of those races. It just felt like things didn't work for him. Shug dropped him in class last year, and he started to get good, and then he showed that he can get distance too when he won at 1 mile and 3/8 last time. This horse is heading the right way for a really good trainer. He's got a huge pedigree. If he gets into this race, Dan, he's going to be a price, and I'm going to use him.
Maybe we're trying to get too cute with our top picks in the Grade 3 WL McKnight because we're both looking for prices. Not to disrespect the shorter priced horses, but maybe these two will offer some value. Let's start with Highlands Sky, who is a very good 3-year-old in 2016 and just really never peaked as an older horse. But the Turf Classic was a throwout, I think, over a very boggy turf course. And the Sword Dancer, listen, it wasn't the most visually impressive effort in the world, but he ran a 98 Beyer against some good horses. He might get a little bit of pace here.
Yeah, a race where he was just never going to be able to get into it, that Sword Dancer, Glorious Empire, Channel Maker, basically 1-2 around the track. He couldn't get into it. He tried to save ground around that final turn. He could not make an impact late, but he was racing on. That's what he does. I mean, he just races on at the end of his races. They're going to take him back and make one run in here. I don't love him, Dan. I just don't want any short prices in this race. I'm hoping he gets a trip and can run his best race because this horse has races that make him a contender in here.
Hunter O'Reilly is merely a stab for me at 20-1 on the morning line. He's had all kinds of problems. Remember, he used to wear bar shoes back in 2016. He didn't have much of a campaign in 2017, but when he did make the track, he won the Bowling Green when he got the right setup.
Yeah,
he ran well in the Sword Dancer behind Sadler's Joy, and I think those two efforts really knocked the starch out of him because he didn't fire in the Red Smith. He didn't fire in the Elkhorn in his one and only start as a 5-year-old. I like that Jimmy Toner gave him the rest of the year off. He's returning as a gelding. He's run well fresh in the past. He has races.
He does.
But he's got a bad running style. And he's got a long layoff to overcome, which means I want every bit of the 20.
Yeah, you got to get a big price on him, but I think you probably will. It's interesting that he's a new gelding for this race. He is one of those horses that he wants every bit of that pace projector to be correct. He wants a fast pace in front of him to close into, but when he gets paces, Dan, he runs every time.
Mike's going 1-4-9-6. I'm going 9-12-7-8. This race part of, I believe, a $750,000 guaranteed pick 5, and Matt Bernier and I will have pick 5 tickets a little bit later on this week on DRFTV. The Grade 3 WL McKnight, bet it with a DRF Bets account. You know the drill. Deposit 50, bet with 200, bets.drf.com. Approximate post time for the McKnight, 4:14 Eastern. Best of luck.